So what Zilla and I are telling you today is that gender inequality is still so very much part of our society, and that we feel that we need to address it immediately, and we're willing to go as far as into our democracy and the voting process, to go and force equality upon people by either saying, you know what, or we're going to upgrade your women to be on the same level as you, or we're going to downgrade you so you're on the same level as your women, where the vote does not count. But it's so important. What I'm going to do is I'm going to ask 3 prevalent questions today in this debate, which are going to be my 3 arguments. The first one I'm going to ask is, what is wrong with patriarchy? The second one is, why is this the best way to address patriarchy, this policy of ours? And the third point, which is very, very important because it clashes directly with what opening brought us, is why this won't encourage apathy, but actually they're exactly the opposite of that. But before I go on, just a few independent points of rebuttal. Well, first of all, we heard this idea of, from opening opposition, there's already being fought for women's rights, and that women have 24% of women are CEOs. Well, we feel that's still not enough. We feel it will only be enough when there are 50% of women being CEOs. You know what? When there's no stigma left where women are weaker than men, or women not equal than men. And OO can't deny the fact that there is actively still a stigma that women are not equal to men. So it's all nice and so. The fact is we need to address this. We want greater equality, and there's no harms in this situation really provided to us that why we can't get greater equality. The second point I want to do is, not now, thank you, is what the hell? Oh, and this idea of why a woman would choose to be lesser than a man. So ultimately, they don't always have the choice. In very traditional households, they don't get to choose to be lesser than the man. They're pretty much forced to be lesser than the man. But even though they have the choice, we have to look at the idea of choice. If they're brainwashed by a culture, or if they're out of fear of men choose to be lesser than them, then there's really no consent. So that's really no choice. Look it up, it's one of the first principles. But let's go on from that. My next point is pretty much this idea which we heard is we're forcing people and we're taking away the rights. Right? Well, pretty much what we're saying is rights are being taken away the moment when women don't go vote, when their men prevent them from going voting, or because they don't want to go vote because, well, they don't think they're important. That is not what we see as democracy, because that is not equality, right? And that's something we have to address. And this is exactly what this policy addresses. And the point of gay relationship, well, we will not really say that anyone in a gay relationship adheres to patriarchy. But let's go on to my first point. So, what is wrong with patriarchy? So, we live in a society where we're striving to focus on the individual and the rights of the individual, where it's a very, very conservative idea, this idea of patriarchy, where the man is the man of the house and the king of the house, and he makes the decision, and women should be subordinate to them. And we have an active problem with that, where women are subordinate to men, because why? It means they're not empowered equally intellectually and empowered equally economically. Even though we're trying to do that, it's still a problem, right? Because women don't get the much academic opportunities like men, or the amount of economic promotion opportunities as men. I feel it's a problem. It's not fair. This is why it's not fair. Because a woman has no control deciding whether or not she's going to be born as a woman or born as a man. And we feel it's a problem to actively go out and punish a woman and say, hey, you can't be equal to a man, and you have to be subordinate to a man, because you know what? Well, someone spun a dice and decided that, well, threw a dice, spun some weird ass other thing, threw a dice and decided that you should be a woman, right? The woman has no control. We can't punish her by making her subordinate to a man. So this is, first of all, the problem we have with patriarchy, which I think is important to address. But now, look at my second argument, is why this is the best way to address patriarchy. And Zilla also already brought some extent to this, is the fact that democracy is based on equality. This is how voting works. One person gets one vote, right? That vote is equal. So one man's vote is equal to that of a woman's vote, and a black person's vote is equal to that of a white person's vote, and the rich person's vote is equal to that of a poor person's vote. Yes.
Now you're actually contradicting yourself and saying everyone has a vote, but if the woman doesn't vote, the man can't vote either.
So ultimately what we're saying is we value voting so much, right, that we want women to also vote. And this is my third argument I'm going to go into quickly after I'm done with this, is exactly tell you why we're not taking away any votes, but why we're encouraging more people to vote. That is wonderful for us. So ultimately what democracy means is no thank yous. All people have the exact same say in choosing which party you want to represent by either voting for a party and their policies which they stand for. So this means via this system we're enforcing equality, because no other platform used for feministic reasons to try and promote a woman is the great equalizer as democracy and as voting, right? Because this is, as I explained in my opening lines, and I explained this also, that we're upgrading a woman to either have the same amount of vote as a man, or we're downgrading a man to have no vote like a woman. And this is equality, and this is exactly what we want. So ultimately, no thank you. I want to go on to, let me take the last one before I go on to my last point.
So if you value voting so much, why take away men's right to vote?
So we value voting, but you know what we value more than voting? We value the fact that a woman should be equal to a man. And we're not taking away his right to vote. What we're doing is to say, encourage your women to vote, and let your women vote. Then you can vote. We're not taking away anyone's vote, right? We're trying to give more people access to voting. So why this won't encourage apathy? So currently on the status quo, in lots of situations, women don't kind of have the power, right? And because they're subordinate to men. But now what we do is we actively, give them the power, because what we as government say is we're saying, we value you so much as an individual that we're going to go out and you know what? We're going to get involved in something that's crucial to your family and your tradition, and that is the role of your husband. The one you see as the man of the house, or the king of the house, or whatever you want to call it, right? We're going to get involved with that. This is going to mean that a woman's going to realize, you know what? Government values me this much. I should start valuing the process of democracy and the process of voting and value myself as a woman much, you know? So this means that actively, when a woman realizes how important this is, she's going to ultimately try and politically get educated and informed even more. And now we're going to have this idea, because the man wants to vote and because the woman wants to vote, they're going to encourage each other to go and vote. Because between this means there will be more people voting. Opposition makes the mistake that we're taking away someone's right to vote. And this is exactly what we're not doing. In fact, we want more people to vote. We want women to be equal. What did the pop sing?